All right. Hello, guys. How's everybody doing? Did you realize how much of your information gets public when you use a hotspot? It's pretty crazy. I need to be more careful. Anyway, we want to welcome you to our STEM So What tonight, presented by Cybersecurity. Good. And I have, we have a couple of announcements just about our STEM division before we do cybersecurity. On November 7th is our Jim Bolin math competition. That is a math competition with cash prizes and scholarship possibilities. So be on the lookout. You'll see signs like this around campus. You want to be paying attention to that. It's also a great, just kind of a cool thing you can put on your resume that you were part of a national math competition. So you might want to check that out. Then also keep an eye out. October 29th is the Kinesiology Expo. And there's going to be some other universities and organizations there to check out all the kinesiology stuff. So you want to make sure and see that. Then I also want to invite Michael up. Up here they've been talking about the battle code. I'll let him explain.
Hi, yes, so we are holding our first annual Battle Code tournament. It is a programming competition where you work as a team of 1 to 4 people, writing code for robot armies. It's all virtual. You're not using actual robots, not like the Robo Wars TV show. But basically, you're just competing against another team's robots to try and take over the map, paint 70% of the map. I've got more information over here, a little video of what that looks like, as well as our flyer that has the sign-up page. We're doing sign-ups now, and then the actual tournament will be at the end of the semester. Somewhere around before or after finals, we have to nail that down. But if you are interested, I'll be here for a little bit after the panel, so you can come and ask questions.
All right, and one more thing. When we do these STEM So What events, all the events are recorded, and those videos are available on our LibGuide. And so if you want to scan this QR code, it'll take you to the LibGuide. You can see all the past events. You can also see all kinds of extra information about this event. And so Phil Jensen is up here. A lot of you, you were sitting up on the stairs, but you can come down afterwards, after the panel. He's got all kinds of resources from the library related to cybersecurity. And so you want to check that out. But also, if you use that LibGuide to go to the website, or use the QR code to go to the LibGuide, everything is available online as well. Some of the digital resources that our library has. So you want to check that out. And then I want to invite Eric Langford from our IT department to introduce the panel.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? All right. So tonight we're going to have a cybersecurity panel. We've got a moderator, 4 panelists, 5 good people from the industry, a lot of different areas and fields. So please ask questions, ask a lot of questions. This is your time. If you're interested in cybersecurity or technology at all, it's a very good time to ask these guys questions. They're very open to whatever you want to ask, so please ask those questions. Let me just do some basic introductions. So Derek Boyd, he'll be our moderator. He's a team lead at Fidelity Investments. His team focuses on endpoint security. So when you get into large organizations, you have teams that focus on very different aspects of cybersecurity or information security. Derek's team is endpoint. You'll notice also his background is not cybersecurity, it is English. He was an English major at Texas Tech and then MBA. So that's the other thing that's important, is the path to cybersecurity is not always traditional, so understanding that. Who do we got next? Colby. Colby is a recent graduate of Texas A&M University. He's actually still a student there, working on his master's degree. But Colby So he's recent. He was recently in the shoes you guys are in now, so he'll be good to answer a lot of those questions. He's currently with Palo Alto. If you're not familiar with Palo Alto Networks, they are a company that provides cybersecurity services. Sorry, guys, remind me if I don't keep it up. And while he was at Texas A&M, he managed the cyber range, also set up and created the Cisco Academy there at Texas A&M, so he has a lot of knowledge. And also, I like the quotes he put on here. One is from John Romero down there at Texas A&M, partial responsibility, partial results, full responsibility, full results. And then the last one is from Colby himself, give me a cable and I'll connect the world. So, and then who we got? Travis. So Travis is, he's a VP and CISO of Archera Energy. He's been in cybersecurity a long time as well with several different energy companies, does a lot of speaking, a lot of different engagements, built SOCs. The thing I like mostly about him is, where is it on there? Something about driving forklifts is in his background. So he's also, done a lot in cybersecurity. So again, a lot of good experience. And then we got Casey Lang. Casey is Vice President of Compliance at Cybershealth. They are specifically focused on 800-171 CMMC. If you're not familiar, CMMC is a new requirement for the defense industrial base. But he's also been cybersecurity 15 years, BAE, AT&T, a lot of other companies. But the thing also about Casey is he's on the compliance side. So he's not necessarily the technical keyboard guy, pen testing side, compliance. So understand there's lots of different areas in cybersecurity, and compliance is a very good one. And then last is Maria. She is the founder of Praxis Data. She also is on the compliance side. Praxis provides information or compliance GRC services. You can ask her what GRC stands for. To different companies. And she's also the president of North Texas InfraGard. If you're not familiar with InfraGard, InfraGard is a public-private partnership between the FBI and private organizations just to provide information sharing. So it's a very good organization. If you're a student, you can look it up and join if you're like. They have quarterly meetings. We had one here back in April, I think, maybe. And she told me tonight that she's planning on hopefully having another quarterly meeting in January at the Trinity River campus, probably. So check that out. So these guys are our panelists. Actually, if you guys want to go ahead and come up, I don't think we have anything else, right, announcement-wise, if you guys want to go ahead and come up. Okay. I do want to play a short video to kind of kick things off. So October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month for the U.S. It's a National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and it is, the purpose of it is to get people outside of cybersecurity to think about and focus on cybersecurity. And so this video, I thought would be a good kickoff, and the topic this year for Cybersecurity Awareness Month is staying safe online. And this video was put together by an organization targeted more towards younger kids, but I still thought it was pretty good and a pretty good, I think, kickoff for what we want to talk about, staying safe online in general. So ask questions about that, but also, as I said, make sure you ask these guys questions about what you want to do in the industry. How do you get into the industry? It's just, so please be open, keep this open, and go ahead and, I guess, play that video.
Let's change the norm. Together.
Maybe we go around the room and share social security numbers.
Join the movement at smartphonefreechildhoodus.com.
I'll get it anyway.
I I thought that was a good kickoff for us to stay safe online. You know, there's a lot of things out there online that are not good for us, both intentional and unintentional, but I thought that would be a good kind of icebreaker to go. But so now I'll give it over to Derek, and he can kick it off with the panel.
Awesome. How are y'all doing? Thanks for coming. And again, I appreciate the warm welcome. I know we get speaking fees here. What did you get paid? I forgot. I'm kidding. Actually, no. We're here voluntarily. We actually love cybersecurity. Everybody on here, we're here. We're volunteers, and we're in our workplaces, and we're cyber warriors. This is what cyber warriors look like, and we need more of them. So we're glad you're here. I don't know if Eric, we want to just take direct questions from the audience now, or do we want to start that, or? Okay. Well, I actually went ahead and used ChatGPT. Anybody using that? Huh? Hopefully not on your assignments and turning that in, right? Well, how about if you don't have, somebody's got to have some questions. If you don't, then we're just going to be up here, telling you whatever we want. We do have questions. Okay, we have questions.
Okay. So if you do ask a question, you can get a T-shirt, and we've got a few other swag items too. So
There we go. Okay.
Tell us your name and your major.
My name is Christine Nguyen, and I'm an accounting major. So for that advertisement, where it addresses how kids have, unmonitored internet access, I think the reason why that parents give kids like these sort of technologies is because it's increasingly considered a lifeline to society. And are all of you of the opinion of, not having kids exposed to that sort of technology?
I can start that. As a parent of children, I think that, like, for my kids at least, and they're about your age, they're 20s and 25, I had the rule of no technology until middle school, only because of necessity. Like when they were in elementary, I picked them up, dropped them off, and in middle school they had a little bit more freedom, and it was a lifeline. But I think that one thing that is important there, yes, obviously we want to secure the kids, but there's a lot of technologies that are out there right now to help secure that. And also as far as parenting goes, being the parent that makes sure that that's enforced, just like anything else in my kids' lives.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Also having kids and having to consider this, and being in cybersecurity, obviously my perspective is, maybe a little different than other parents, but I do believe that it's the wrong thing to just completely deny them this. I think this is an important part of their life that they need to learn how to deal with. And I think it's up to us as parents to figure out, almost individually for the child, because every child is different. They mature differently, they grow differently. When they're younger and they don't know any better, you do need to have those guardrails in place. Like, they don't understand, so don't let them fall into something that's like gonna maybe be traumatic to them. There is that kind of stuff online. But as they get older and they get more mature, I think it's up to you as a parent to figure out, how do you relax those boundaries a little bit to give them a little bit more freedom, let them explore the technology a little bit, but do so in a safe way, and help them understand, like, what are the risks to them about these things, so that by the time they become an adult, they don't have any more guardrails, but they also understand very much what the risks are and how to stay safe, and they're fully ready to go, instead of they become an adult, they go and they don't know any better, and they get into bad situations because they were not prepared for it.
So my thoughts on this come as somebody who just graduated, right? So I'm kind of in y'all's age group. So I don't know how many of you guys have taken a psychology class, but I was able to take one while I was at A&M. Yeah, nice. Especially if you're like did AP psychology maybe in high school, right? One of the things I learned about in there, because we learned about the entire like how you develop as a person from childhood till your adulthood. One of the things I found really interesting was that as a kid, you start putting things in boxes, right? So you're like, you see something in the world and you're like, that looks like this, so I'm gonna associate it with this sort of thing. Well, that's either objects or maybe words or phrases. Like on a personal note, my mom, I'm half Hispanic, and so in our family, the aunts, we call them Tias, right? But my mom's name is Tina, and so as a kid, Thea and Tina are very close, right? So you kind of blur the lines a little bit. And where I'm going with that is, you know, my parents were very much of the sense of like, you know, didn't want me to do, you know, no Xbox during the week. I don't think I had a phone until like I started walking home from school in middle school, right? So I definitely come at it from that angle. And I started to realize as I got older, how lucky I was that my parents looked after me in that way, because as an adult, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and a lot of that stuff is just freely accessible. And it's not so much that, you know, somebody like your parents are trying to deny you information or anything. It's as you get older, you start to develop, your brain starts to develop, and you have better ways of processing information that you see. One moment you could be on Twitter and you can see, you know, a touchdown from last night's game, and then immediately under it is something completely grotesque or offensive. As an adult, that is really hard to process. That could mess me up for an entire lunch period or the rest of the day. Can you imagine if you're a kid and you're like, why are these two things next to each other? This seems kind of normalized. It can take you down a bad path. And I say that now as an adult, where I'm like, this kind of bothers me. I can only imagine if like my little cousins were, you know, just kind of blindly looking through stuff, right? From that perspective, I think it is really important as a parent to know that. Again, if you can take a psychology class to kind of learn about like how your brain develops over time, I think, because as a kid, you're like, why am I not allowed to do this? Why am I not allowed to do that? You start to push back. And then it's one of those things you get older, you're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. So I think from a parent's perspective and a kid's perspective, just kind of understanding that there are things in life that you will eventually find out. You probably just don't need to find out about it right now. So.
Just a show of hands, how many people in the crowd think they had amazing decision making at 7 years old? So we got a couple. How many of you either binge watch Netflix or binge on online gaming? So my point in asking those questions is, I have 7 kids myself. I have several iPads through the house. But given their decision making and how addictive online media can be, whether that's Netflix or YouTube Kids or mobile gaming platforms, you do need to establish limits. The good thing is most of the platforms out there, Apple, Google, they're all kind of putting those utilities in place for parents. So you can set time limits, you could set limits on the categories of things that they have access to. So the industry is maybe ahead, maybe catching up as it relates to giving parents the tools, but in the end, the parents need the tools to do the adult decision making for their kids.
Okay, I think we answered that one okay, pretty thoroughly. Thank you. Do we have any other questions at all? Yep.
Give us your name and your degree.
Hello, I'm Casey Robinson, and I'm into the cloud computing. What's your take on AI and the video and text creation of it, where we can't trust our influencers and trusted officials to be honest because they're AI generated to push something different?
Terrifying. I was just scrolling Facebook the other day, and I like to cook at home, and nearly every picture of food was just mildly apparent that it was AI created. So you have content creators in the past that were thoughtfully creating recipes and photographers doing photography, and now you can literally just jam a prompt, create a recipe that you didn't even create yourself, and then create the media to go with it, video and pictures. You don't have to do any of it. The real world, in my opinion, has more value than the digital world, and that'll just become more and more prevalent the better and better the AI gets on kind of ruling the digital realm.
Well, I'll bring it to kind of also the industry. As AI has been coming around more and more, I was talking to people that were starting that AI phase, and AI ethics has been an issue since the inception of AI, especially in organizations and in homes. So if you do get bored and you want to just type in AI ethics and go down a rabbit hole of all the legalities in AI creation, intellectual property, who owns that intellectual property, whether is it ChatGPT or you from the prompt. So there's obviously the untrusting, not being able to trust your eyes, but also there's a whole big industry, if you want to be a lawyer, in AI ethics and legal, that is going to be its own industry very soon. There is already one, but it's getting much bigger.
One more comment on AI, just tying it back to the compliance theme. Just the other day, I think it was one of the big four consulting firms got caught overusing AI, and the federal government sued them because of that, because it was just AI-generated content instead of doing thorough analysis by a human. But other than that, when it comes to compliance frameworks and controlling AI, right now, anything that you put in AI today, ChatGPT is training a model, so you certainly don't want to put your private information or anything that's intellectual property to train the hive mind, in a sense, as it relates to your thoughts and ideas.
I don't know that I can add much to that. But I do think that to the core of the question, I think we are going to get to a point pretty quickly. Like right now, today, like if you've played with Sora 2 or any of the latest like video generation things, like it's still kind of obvious. You know, there's always something that you can see that tease out. As good as some aspects of it are, there's always like some things that you can be like, what is this? You know, like that's AI. But it's probably not that far in the future where those problems are going to go away. And you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between an AI-generated piece of something, you know, even involving somebody you know, and the real thing. And I think, honestly, I think it's just going to get to a point where you can't trust that stuff because it can be always created. And I don't know that, you know, I know there's companies trying to do detection, you know, like to be able to look at it programmatically and go, oh, this was AI generated because, and be able to tell from the video content, but I don't know how much trust and faith I put in that, to be honest, especially as the technology keeps changing. So I think, you know, it is going to come down to, oh, that was online, so how can I trust it, you know? And that makes stuff like this and human interaction just all the more important.
I saw you had a question, so I'll keep it short. But I wanted to add to that was, to answer your question straight on, our lives are gonna be a lot harder, I think, going forward. I think there's no way around it. Something that's kind of inspiring, a mentor of mine, he was an Aggie, I think graduated in '99 or something like that. He had told me, he was, you know, my generation when I was coming out, how do you say it? He's like, my generation defined what the internet was. He goes, your generation gets to define what AI is. And I was like, that is just pretty cool, pretty inspiring. Like, we've come a long way. I'm sure some of you probably have seen the meme of like, hey, you know, as time goes on, history books only get bigger, right? And so you have to like learn more in class and stuff like that. And so what I say to that is, I think every generation, every society kind of goes through things that they have to become skilled at. So for instance, I think if anybody else, seems like most people here are probably Gen Z like I was. I was kind of right on the cusp of where when I was in kindergarten, I learned cursive, but throughout high school, I learned how to type, right? There's a big transition now. A lot of us, we know how to type. That's a skill that you really need in today's society. I think going forward with AI, just having more of a natural skepticism towards things and, you know, making sure that you yourself are grounded in what, you know, kind of maybe how you see the world and not be easily influenced by maybe something you can see because, again, you can't trust it. So
I'm Sierra. I'm in cybersecurity, and I was wondering what your roles are, and do you think that your current careers are a net positive to society? And do you have any tips for anyone who's trying to get into your current positions?
You want to start that?
Yeah, really good question. So my role right now is I'm Chief Information Security Officer for a subsidiary of BP that we get natural gas off of landfills. So that's the money-making thing that the company does, and I'm responsible for securing that. As far as like a net positive, I think yes, but I think yes in the context of like anybody who has a job that's doing something that's useful is, like if you're laying bricks, you're doing something useful, like if you're, working at a tailor or something like that, that's a net positive. Somebody needs that service, and I think we're just in this place in time and in history and in society where, we need to be able to trust the institutions that we work with, whether it's our bank or whether it's, the construction company that builds our house or whatever the situation is. We don't want to be in a situation where we have to personally go make sure that they're doing cybersecurity or something like that. We want to be able to trust them that they're doing things right, just like we trust them with money and, that the laws and that the police and FBI and everybody are doing their job to make sure everybody's being honest. I feel like I'm just kind of part of that ecosystem, and it's not like anything that I'm doing in a given day is like going to change the world and anything like that. It's just I'm just part of society and contributing, if that makes sense.
I wonder if there's an edge to your question. So being in cybersecurity for me, most of my career has been within the defense industrial base. First and foremost, title today, Vice President of Compliance Services. Officially, I make that distinction because one, makes it seem like I'm doing compliance for the company. Two, compliance services means I do it for my customers. But the reason I speak to the defense industrial base specifically is because if you're for the idea of having the U.S. be a strong country militarily, then you're doing great things. Alternatively, you're supporting a cause that ties a little bit to violence, but I am patriotic, so for that reason, supporting the defense industrial base works for me.
So I also do governance, risk, and compliance, governing a program within a company. But I own the company, Praxis Data Security, and what we do is that we help companies both build security programs when they're not in a compliance, and just to make them stronger, more viable companies as well. For a lot of reasons, both money, everybody's getting hit with ransomware, making sure that that risk goes down for them. Also helping them with any compliance so they could be more viable in the marketplace. A lot of the times we do SOC compliances or PCI, things like that. And we also do a CMMC. But for me, I think I am saving the world, actually, sir. And the reason I say that is one of our huge passions is the SMB space, the small, medium-sized business. And those are the ones that are least represented in security, but they're also still being just as attacked. And in fact, they're easier. Like, you think about low-hanging fruit. You can deploy something that you buy off the shelf in a shopping center and get $1,000 from each business, and you make a quick $5,000 so they can get back up and running. Or you can do a big sales cycle and hit a very large company and make millions, but takes you years to get that. Or deploy something very quickly and make a quick $5,000 because all of that ransomware is now off the shelf. Somebody can put it in, and there's a lot of small businesses that just pay and keep going. So I do feel like I'm positively impacting SMBs and helping them, again, be more viable. Also, to Casey's point, doing a lot of CMMC is securing the United States supply chain is very big, and I'm very, very proud to also be contributing to that.
Hey, thanks for the question. So, so I work for a large company, Fidelity Investments. You know, we are being attacked. So here's the deal: we don't really have an option to not have cyber security, right? We are being attacked every day, and we have to have a good, strong cybersecurity program because, well, when they, it reminds me of a story where they actually caught the bank robber. And then they interviewed him, they said, hey, you know, why did you rob all these banks? And he said, well, that's where the money was, you know. And so that's kind of the same thing with Fidelity, right? So Fidelity is a financial services company. We do, you know, we have a very large assets under management in the trillions. And so we are a target, just like the government, just like even small businesses, right? And so big companies have to have a cyber workforce to protect us against threat actors, not only external threat actors, but also internal, right? There are some that get hired on and try to do bad things even when they're internally, right? And sometimes they work, it's insider and external threats, right? So we protect the company. We do provide I believe a service, retirement services, brokerage services for people's savings, and that has to be protected. It's essential, right? So yes, I do believe being a part of that and protecting against attacks and things like that. It's actually pretty exciting. Do I look excited? Yeah. I think I'm just tired, but no, it is, and you know, and I think one thing I want to mention, you know, with you're hearing a bunch from some of the panel members, you know, cybersecurity is not. I mean, there's so many different facets of cybersecurity, right? There's I'm hearing about a CISO over here. I mean, that would be the guy. You know, he's the man. You also have just simple. Or your basic SOC analysts. I mean, so I'm not sure how well you know about the different roles in cybersecurity, but I mean, there's so many of them. I'll be honest with you, in my company, we actually have, I want to say over 1,000 cyber employees in our company, and we're a global company, and so we, you know, men, women, I mean, you know, identity and access management, there are many different disciplines, and this is something that when I was on your side, I didn't understand that. I was an English major in college, you know, and so when I started my journey, it was, I learned a lot, and I had to pivot, and so just, there is no perfect job going in, you just got to get started, right? Does that make sense? Did anyone else have any other questions, or?
If I could add to that, also I did want to say, as somebody who has their 401k in a money market in Fidelity, I thank you for protecting it.
It's safe.
So, so you kind of had two parts to your question, which are very interesting, and to be honest, I've thought about it a lot. I will say, you guys have probably thought about this too. As a new grad coming out in this economy, you don't necessarily get the luxury of thinking about what exactly you're doing for society, because society's kind of put a lot on you, right? I was very lucky. My parents are both veterans, so I got to go to Texas A&M essentially for free, except for rent. So very lucky. So me, my day job is a sales engineer. If you would have told me when I was sitting where you guys are sitting that I would have been in sales, I would have given you like a very disgusted look. Like, what do you mean sales? I'm not gonna be like a car salesman. No offense to any car salesman. That's just what I hear, right? However, kind of my background, I was very technical throughout college. All of my internships, like I was telling the panelists before, I was literally the engineer in the basement. And I did a lot of like outreach stuff, a lot of group stuff at A&M, and so I like being in front of people. And you know, when they told me like, no, you don't handle any of the finances, you just demo, and you hope the sale goes really well. And I'm like, all right, I think I can do that, right? And so do I think I'm a benefit to society? Well, Palo's, what do you call it? mission statement is protecting our digital way of life. So I'm selling products to make sure that you are secure whenever you're on your phone or you're on your laptop. So I like to think to myself that I am doing good for society. Again, not all of us get that luxury, unless you're just like really doing something that's like not good, right? But I think y'all kind of get where I'm coming from. The second part of your question was you were like, you were asking how did you kind of get into the field, is that right? So to Eric's point, when you had mentioned earlier about not all paths are the same with cybersecurity, that is kind of the beauty and the curse when it comes to it. I definitely lucked into my path. So when I went to A&M, originally I was there for computer science. Just to be blunt with you guys, I failed out. And I was sophomore year, end of sophomore year, I was like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be a student anymore. Like, this is not looking good. Anyways, I found GIS, Geographic Information Systems, fantastic program. Obviously, I didn't go that way as a career path, but I was lucky enough to find my way, still stay in cybersecurity. And I knew that going in. It wasn't like I was just wandering through A&M. You don't just wander through, you know, the big four-year universities, whether it's UNT or A&M or Harvard. You don't just wander through, right? And so what really benefited me, one, getting out there and talking to people. If people, my sister and my girlfriend are still kind of going through it as far as like applying for jobs. Entry level is really hard right now to get. I go to work every day and just thankful that Palo seems to invest in young people. So I think about that a lot. But go meet people, go talk to people, come talk to us after the panel. I'd be more than happy to talk to you and just kind of get a little bit more into it. From a kind of technical side, if you are trying to go into cybersecurity or IT, really look into certifications, whether it's the CompTIA suite of certs, A+, Net+, Security+. The one that really benefited me in my life was CCNA, and I'd love to talk to you guys about that more if you ever. But you know, I think for a lot of technology people, you feel like, oh, you know, everybody thinks I'm supposed to be just kind of the guy who sits off on the corner on their computer, right? When in reality, if you are that person, I challenge you to, you know, go talk to people, try to form relationships, have a connection, because I would not be here talking to you today if I did not get over that hurdle myself. So,
don't downplay the skill to sell. Just a point on sales engineers: they have the polished qualities to get in front of a customer and talk, and that's important if you have any entrepreneurial spirit at all. What I've done for my company today to help build it requires that type of skill, and if you guys ever intend to build something, sell a product, sell yourself, don't play down the sales angle.
I have a lot to say about how to get into the industry. I didn't answer that earlier, so apologies, Sarah, for missing that. I think it's, you know, to Colby's point, I think it's harder now than it was in previous times, and it's only going to get harder because I think AI is going to make some of the traditional paths of getting in, you know, that foot in the door kind of situation a little bit harder to get. Mostly because, you know, getting in as an entry-level SOC analyst is one of the easiest ways that you could previously, I mean, up till today, probably get your foot in the door. It's, you know, bare minimum. A lot of times they give you some training, get you up to speed when they bring you in and everything like that. But AI SOC is basically, you know, a thing. There's a bunch of companies. Like if you went to Black Hat this year, that was the thing. There was a whole bunch of startups building AI SOC analysts and stuff, and they're pretty good. Doesn't eliminate the position, but it's going to make the pressure, you know, like the volume of those jobs is going to go down. It's at least going to stay flat if you're lucky, and it's probably going to go down. But that's not, you know, that doesn't mean that, you know, the end is, you know, why am I doing this? Why, you know, I'm not going to be able to get in. No. First off, cybersecurity is as broad as technology is. And so every time there's a new technology, there's always a way that that technology can be abused. Therefore, there's security for that technology. So like, everything that you interact with, including things like microprocessors. There's people that focus on hardware, like down to the point of their whole job is securing microprocessors. There's policy, there's you name it, you know, there's forensic stuff, and there's people that do financial forensics. That's, you know, more and more becoming a cyber thing, or like crypto and stuff. So I guess where I'm going with all that is the way that you differentiate yourself and make yourself valuable is absolutely attainable. You know, number one, the first thing that I look for when I'm hiring somebody is, you know, be a good human being. And anybody can do that. And I don't care what you know, if you come in and you've got like an attitude, or you've got, you know, some kind of, you know, character flaws that, you know, make it clear that you're not going to be a good fit for my team, then I'm not going to hire you. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with what you know or anything like that. I need to protect the culture on my team, and that means that I'm mostly hiring for the personability of the person. You know, are they honest? Do they have high integrity? Are they going to help out everybody, or are they just going to come and sit and do their job and go home? You know, that kind of stuff. Because things can be taught, and I have no problem spending time with people on my team that are maybe more junior, that, you know, don't understand something. I will spend time to teach them stuff that I'm not really concerned about them having the ability to learn something. I really just want somebody that's going to be a good person and is going to be a good fit. So any of us can do that. So check that box. And the other thing is, in any one of these areas, differentiating yourself from other people just means you need to work a little harder at learning. And nowadays, no excuse. We've got YouTube, we've got creators putting stuff on YouTube. There's a zillion other websites out there that have instructions about how to do different things with security. Get your hands dirty with whatever it is that you're doing. You want to write policies? Write policies. You know, use ChatGPT to, like, you know, grade you on your policy. You know, have ChatGPT write a policy and read through it and ask it questions like, why do you have this part in there? And it'll explain why that's important, you know? So there's, like, really no reason why you can't, like, keep building your own knowledge base and your own experience by getting your hands dirty and basically becoming a little expert in something before you ever even step into a job. And that is what's going to make the difference in you being able to get that entry-level position versus somebody trying to, you know, replace you with AI or whatever it is, you know. So that's my, and I'm happy to talk about this. I could talk about this a lot more, but I'm going to let other people talk.
All right, and I also, sorry, did not hear the end of the question, but I would love to answer it as well, because I get asked a lot how I got into GRC, of all things, because it's honestly the most exciting thing in cyber. Pen testing is boring, and writing policies and incident response plans is crazy fun. But that I do get asked a lot, and I was a biology major in college and was actually going into med school. Life took many twists and turns, and I ended up being, the reason I got into this field in particular was I was on the business side. My mentor was a venture capitalist who I got to sit through a lot of acquisition meetings and was understanding how they were evaluating companies and measuring risk, and I got very involved in that. And then one company in particular came in and was looking for funding, and it happened to be a HIPAA compliance company. And having understood all of the acquisition and measuring of risk, and then understanding HIPAA, and that was my gateway. And I had great mentors. That's the other advice I'll tell you. Find a mentor. If it weren't for my mentor, I wouldn't have read the documentation and gone through the things and self-learned and had guidance to self-learn. But, you know, right at COVID, that company was kind of just business matters falling apart, and I had enough to apply for jobs, and I went to apply to Deloitte, and Deloitte did have a position, and did not take your advice. I was a little cocky about it. I was like, entry level. I've been doing this for years now. And I did end up starting Praxis out of that. Now, was it easy being an entrepreneur? Absolutely not. There was a lot of years of suffering, and we got our good years and our bad years and our growth years. But that's my origin story of how I got into cyber and that risk side and understanding business processes. So I'm not a technical person, and we are not. Praxis isn't a technical company. We partner with IT companies that we help them with their GRC and that skill set, understanding. We read a lot of laws. We figure out how they are implemented. Praxis actually means a practical implementation of a theory. That's why I named it Praxis, because that's what we're doing with these frameworks and these, all of these security frameworks. But I will say, if nothing else, get a good mentor, and there are plenty of places to get those mentors. And then leads me to the AI story as well. I mentored somebody, and they ended up getting a job at Meta. And that was great. They were in the privacy side of Meta as far as their entry level, and they've been there for 2 years. And I did get a phone call, actually today of all days, that they were let go because they had been actually training AI with their privacy, and that's very unfortunate. But they had focused on privacy, and they're back at being my mentee, and I'm teaching them frameworks and giving them. If you want to be in GRC, I suggest you read the NIST 130, where it teaches you all about running a risk assessment and why we do it. So that's my little tidbit for today on NIST.
Do we have any other questions? We do. You've been very patient. Oh, down there.
Your name and your degree.
Sorry, I was getting that. Mitchell Davis, and the degree path I'm going to is IT cybersecurity. I'm just trying to figure out how I get this. I've have this article right next to me of AI blackmailing people, and they've done a research that if you I believe it was shutting down. They have, if you try and shut down the AI, they have, even though that you told them to not do any backlash, that they would. I can give you. How would you? I'm trying to think of how to word this correctly. How would you? How would you secure the company from a AI attack that is within your own? If you want me to give you the, if you want me to clarify, I can give you the article on my phone right now.
So
What's the name of the article?
Yeah,
It's a Google Doc.
Google Doc? Can we? I'll read it to you.
It's like just. Like they can.
Okay.
I can send it to them for them.
No, let me read what it says. It says, no, seriously, an AI blackmailed research to avoid shutdown. So how do you avoid?
Yeah, I think it comes down to control, right? So compliance frameworks are all about setting minimum standards and requirements for control. AI only gets as much access as you provision to it. So if you think of unleashing AI on an organization, that would mean that you're giving AI things like full administrative access of your company's infrastructure and applications. AI essentially becomes the bad guy. Interesting story from my career history. The bad guy for us was nation-state threat actors on the other side of the world, siphoning defense information to recreate our defense equipment. They were able to do that because we had poor security practices at the time. vulnerabilities perpetually through the environment, and failed access controls, to where nation-state threat actor was able to get domain admin credentials and compromise a very big defense contractor worldwide. If you give that kind of access to AI and you don't establish controls around AI, it's the same threat. So if somebody could manipulate an AI to turn it into a malicious entity in a sense, control is what's going to matter.
I have a similar story, but it's not on the nation state side, or it's more insider threat, I think you could categorize it. So the story I have with AI in an organization, I do a lot of work with Copilot and implementing Copilot. So the first thing that we're doing is doing an assessment of those access controls. Basically, access controls for each individual, what are you letting them have access to? And we were in a situation where they deployed Copilot into an organization without doing that. And since it's attached to a license to a specific user, that user happened to have a lot of credentials and to be able to get into a lot of things. And by default, that AI had the same credentials and could also access things and get that they should not have been able to get it to from their own organization, and they weren't necessarily somebody that should have that many access rights. So even if it's from the outside or from within, AI can really be bad in an organization if it's not implemented correctly, even when it's inside. And there's also a new rising field in AI. It's AI governance. So that is becoming a coined term. Why it's not part of the entire governance and they're making it its own governance, I'm not sure. But there, if you look for, I went on Indeed and looked for AI governance jobs, and there's apparently a bunch of them. So, so that's my 2 cents.
To your question? Did that answer your question, you think? Okay. Awesome. Did anyone have any other questions? Got maybe somebody who hasn't asked before, maybe?
So, greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Johnson. I am the professor of half of the crew here. I would like for you guys to give a suggestion on how, first of all, it's certain terms that have been mentioned that I think they need clarity on. We had GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, correct? We heard the term SOC. You guys heard that? SOC? Security Operations Center. Okay, so I'm clarifying some terms for you. We also heard the term IAM. Sounds familiar? They've been going through some Azure stuff. So IAM, someone tell me, what is IAM? Identity Access Management, okay? So these are terms that are going to be useful for you when you're looking into the choices that you're choosing regarding your roles, okay? So in my courses, I highly suggest them to have collaborative learning. And in saying that, team environment is essential. I would like to start with Mr. Casey and move forward within the panel. Because you have such a large family, I'm wondering if you can tell us, how do you feel about team collaboration? And what do you think is the most important aspect of having a team to catapult to the next level?
Yeah, I like the idea of being able to pivot between collaborative and independent. And reason why I say that, I think all the way back to when I was in your position. I had a course that was actually my gateway drug to cybersecurity. And it was a unusual format. It was a free and open course. Cybersecurity was a very new thing at the time. And this professor had some expertise in the space, but he was not prescriptive at all. He just said, go find an interesting topic that you're passionate in. And every week, you're not reading from a book. You're going to find the topic, you're going to research the topic, and then you're going to prove out the things that it's saying, so demonstrate something to the class. So that's the opposite of the question that you asked me, but it was, I like that type of work, and everybody works a little bit differently. But from a team collaboration standpoint, on the personal side, I got a lot of kids in the house, so it's always a team effort to keep things in order. And from a work standpoint, the value of the team is tied to kind of the culture of the team that you're trying to build. So for us, we're a bit of a gritty team. We're very mission oriented, so we're all in line with the motives of the company. You know, ultimately supporting the warfighter, protecting those who protect us. And in the end, that camaraderie is massive as it relates to our success as a company, delivering compliance services, securing our customers, and having everybody aligned with that mission helps with not just the security aspect, but the retention aspect. The people that are truly kind of bought in, understand the mission, want to do the work, and want to go above and beyond for the customers. To get to that point and kind of qualify the people that you want on that team, as a leader today that kind of grew into where I am today, it took a lot of learning. How do you can ask questions during an interview, but how do you effectively qualify during the interviewing process? And it is, to your point, understanding like, are they a culture fit for the team? For us, the qualification process, given we do compliance, we do a lot of assessments against control frameworks. We actually run our candidates through an actual mock assessment and with limited guidance, because we want to know, one, can the candidate think on their own? Can they get creative? Two, can they present in front of a customer because it's a customer-facing role? Three, are they doing the right things? Do they understand the framework? And compliance is a bit of a unicorn. You need to understand the technical piece, you need to have the presentability, and you need to understand the frameworks well and practically. So mock assessment, part of a framework, and then ultimate delivery, meaning executive outbrief, can you present at an executive level? That's how we qualify our teams, and if you want to have a good quality team, you need a way to qualify the right fit.
So I'm going to say hashtag same to both of you on the inside team dream. Teamwork makes the dream work attitude, especially on a team and especially if it's customer facing. In the same position where we're consultants, and sometimes our customers, even though we have a big discovery phase and we're really trying to see if we're a good fit, them for us and us for them. I address the teamwork aspect of it because a lot of the times they have an internal IT department that we're going to have to work with very intimately. And because it's a framework where we are also looking at a lot of the administrative controls, we're also going to have to be talking to HR and all the other business units. So what we do to address the teamwork as a consultant role is that during our kickoff meeting at the beginning of a project, we set those expectations up with how much they have to put in. They get out what they put in. So if we're having to chase down things or they're arguing about every little thing, we can have conversations about it, and everybody's doing their best to meet these requirements or understand these things. But that's where we set our expectations customer facing. I just wanted to address that side of it.
So I have a small team right now. I've been around for a long time, so I've had different size teams in the past. But the team now it's very much team sometimes, but individually go focus on something. But I think the thing that you figure out after a while is that there's absolutely no way you can know everything in cybersecurity. It's just not even possible. And the longer you're in the industry, the more you absolutely know that. But what's cool is when things work really well, you may have experts on the team that are experts in different areas of something, but even they'll get stumped sometimes, and sometimes it's somebody else is like, hey, have you tried blah, blah, blah? And then it's like, oh yeah, actually that might work. And then they go play around with it and they figure it out. And that's why, it's individual sometimes, because you may go work and focus on a specific task, but inevitably you're going to run into stuff's not working the way you expect it to, or, who knows, whatever roadblock you run into. And having that team to lean on and to work with. Like, there's days where you're helping somebody else with something they're doing, and there's days when they're helping you with something, and that's just how it works. And it really, when that works well, you punch way above your weight. So you maybe are doing the work of a team that's twice the size of the team you actually have, just because everybody's working so effectively.
I have a phrase that probably a lot of us have heard before. Don't be the main character. As I'm sure we've all had classes, or maybe you work, and you're like, who does this guy think? Why does he always want attention? Like, he's not really adding anything. I remember, so when I was at A&M, I would once a week I'd teach a CCNA class. I had this guy in the back. He was new, and he was like, I already have my Net Plus, so is there any reason I should even be here? And it's like, you're not adding anything, you're not adding any value to this conversation that we're trying to do here, right? So don't be that guy. Kind of scoping out a little bit as far as teamwork goes. Especially in technology, maybe if you're doing other things, technology, I don't know of anything that you're not going to be part of a team of, whether you're a software developer, whether you are a SOC analyst, if you are in any management position, you will be part of a team. So if that's something you're not interested in, I'm sorry, but that is life. Humans are social people, so you're just going to have to work with them. Man, there is a lot there on teamwork, I would say. I would say something to really think about and internalize is, whenever possible, help your peers. Life has a funny way of working out where if the more you give, somehow the more you get in return. Whenever possible, help your teammate, help them learn. Maybe they need a ride to class or need a ride to work. Some of us are like, I don't really know if I want to get up an extra 30 minutes. Like, you're the opposite way, man. Like, that's kind of, but you're really making a difference on that person. And not only are you helping them in that moment, but those little things, those things that you do together, that is what builds a team. That is what builds chemistry. Like, for instance, Palo does several events for us. We have like a intramural soccer league that we participate in, a kickball league, and there's a friend of mine, a lot of people in our cohort, there's 30 of us, they're mostly new grads, a lot of them from the East or West Coast, so some of them don't have cars, and so my coworker, BJ, was like, hey, you going to soccer tonight? Because he really likes soccer. He's like, I don't have a car, and I was like, where are you at? And he lives up in Frisco, and I was like, oh, dude, you're like the opposite direction of all this. But I was like, you know what? Let me go home, get changed. I'm going to come pick you up, and we're going to go together. And, it made things a little stressful on me, rush hour and all that. But there is something that in the moment, you probably don't see it, but over time, and that's not the first time I've helped them out, right? But we're closer. Every time I come in and see them, there's just a little bit more. And the more you want to be able to do something for somebody, the better off your team, your company, your family, the better off you all be. So.
Awesome. I just had one comment on that. So actually my team's working right now. So if you're in cybersecurity, there could be a little extra long days depending on what events are going on. But I have a global team in U.S., North Carolina, and Ireland, actually. And I cannot stress teamwork makes the dream work. I like how you said that. We do work as a unit. And we help each other out. No one, even junior members, the senior members help the junior members. We don't hire people that don't do that, right? So it is very important that you have those characteristics, right? Very, very important. So we enable the business to operate securely. That's what we say here at Fidelity. And so I just couldn't be more proud of my team, and again, when I interview for qualities like that. You got to show up, you got to do your work, you got to help your brother and sister, right? But we do have to make each other stronger. So thank you for saying that.
And just to tie back to the story I told about the nation-state threat actor on the network, my strongest work relationships were developed in the trenches of doing hard things at work. In that particular instance, we disconnected a 50,000 employee business from the internet, rebuilt the entire infrastructure of that in a long weekend, and then dealt with the impact of that after that. And to me, that's in the trenches with your work war buddies. So it's in those times of need that you really develop the strongest teamwork.
Really quick, I wanted to add on to what you had to say about seniors helping juniors. You probably will run into somebody in your life that doesn't want to help you for whatever reason, and that's okay. You can get past it. Something, however, you as a junior, you're going to get older naturally. Just because something happened to you, make sure that doesn't happen to the next person. Next week, I'm actually going to go speak at Sam Houston State. I know those guys over there, and over the summer, he's like, well, their VP, he was their webmaster, he's now their VP, and he was like, he wanted to chat and see how we did things at A&M, and he was talking about certain things, and I let him finish speaking, but one of the things that caught my eye was, he said, as the webmaster, sometimes in their officer meetings for their cyber club, he'd bring up ideas, but he was told by the former VP that he's a webmaster, so he doesn't get input. And I told him, I said, I am so sorry you ever had to deal with that. And it's not right. However, now that you are VP, remember that feeling and never let that happen as so long as you are an officer. Make sure that everybody on your team knows that the reason that they are in this meeting is because they are expected to contribute. So a lot of the things that we may not like as society or at our jobs, we come into it, we may have to deal with it for a little bit, but as you grow, as you get older, you have the power to change that for the better.
And I just wanted to also start around because we're talking about career paths in cyber. And one thing that made me think about this role while we're talking about teamwork and my story of customer facing and making sure to set the expectations, cybersecurity project managers, you have a good one, and that can really bring a team together and make sure that things are going smoothly and are kind of mitigating different things. That is, I think, a true good cyber non-technical career path, because project managers are for in a lot of fields, but you really need one that understands what is going on in the field. So just something to think about as a different career path in cyber.
All right, how about that panel? Can you give them a round of applause? Real quick, we're going to have Greg Harris and John Martin and Jeremy, if you guys will come up. What? They have gifts. We have gifts for the panel. Greg, show them the order. So we will have him bring those up. And while we're doing that, so we want to say thank you. This is really a pretty great opportunity for us to be able to interact with so many wonderful professionals. And so it's really great that they spent their evening to be here and pass on that information. And then one more thing, as we are giving these to them, I would like to ask you all to do something for us. One of the things we like to hear from students, if you have enjoyed this event, if you want more events like this, so I know we've done a lot with QR codes, but if you would scan this QR code for us, it's a very quick, short survey. This is your way to communicate to the school if you like things like this and you want more, or if you hate it and don't want us to do it again, which I hope is not the case. So if you'll scan that for us and complete that, it is really important for our school to know what you want. And as you are doing that, I will remind you, we just have a phenomenal panel up here. I think they'll stick around for a few minutes. Look at how vigorously they're shaking their heads. So if you were a little shy to ask in the big group, if you have a question for them, come talk to them. It's very rare that you're going to get a chance like this, and they've already given a lot of wonderful information, careers, ideas of things to be thinking about. So come talk to them more. Also, right over here, Anita Horn is one of our advisors from here at TCC. She's here if you have any questions about what classes you need to register for, what you need to do going forward, because registration for the spring semester is coming quickly. She's here for a few more minutes and would love to talk to you. And then also I want to remind you that Phil Jensen is over here with the library with all kinds of resources. You could take a book home tonight. Yeah, so come talk to him. You could check out one of those books or just talk to him about being a librarian. He has career advice too. Has everybody done the survey? Okay, then I have one more announcement. We will have another STEM So What event in about a month. It'll be Thursday, November 13th, this same time, 5:30 to 7:30. We will be over in a different building. We'll be in the NW04. But we're going to have a representative from the University of Texas, Dallas, come talk about actuarial science, which you may not know what that is, but it is a very math, statistics-based process to make smart decisions, especially when it comes to insurance and different financial products. And so should be really interesting. So we want to encourage you to keep your eyes out for that and pass that along to all your friends. And I think that's it. Does anybody have anything else?
I had an ask for the audience. Yeah. I just want to say I graduated from Fossil Ridge High School up in Keller. Went through the entire feeder pattern and all that. If you either were in Keller ISD or if you were through the Ridge feeder pattern, please come say hi. I love to meet you guys. So.
We're saying thank you. So we're coming visiting from the Northeast campus. Most of these are either cyber or cloud folks. My students are. So a round of applause. We thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you.